What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with another video. Join us now as Wrestlelamia looks at the 25th October edition of Raw, as well as the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Brock Lesnar isn't a free agent anymore, a WWE running a pay-per-view opposite AEW, a former WWE superstar signs with AEW, a god-tier push for Roman Reigns, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now, as always, we won't recap the matches, but just provide you with the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. As always, we start off with the good as number 1, exciting new theme music. Now, the WWE's theme music has been hit and miss over the last few years, with the promotion often dropping a decent or good entrance theme for something just plain awful. But last night's changes for Carmella and Damian Priest were actually refreshing, and whilst there's little reason to get excited about Carmella, the changing music can't hurt. As for Priest, it's a subtle way to show that the Archer of Infamy is slowly rising up the Raw roster and that the WWE is monitoring every aspect of his character. Both changes were a subtle but effective way of making Raw's season premiere stand out. Number 2, Keith Lee teases joining the Hurt Business. Is Bearcat Lee joining the Hurt Business? Well, it certainly looks that way judging from last night's interaction between Lee and Hurt Business member Shelton Benjamin. Bringing back Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin to the Hurt Business hasn't done much for the popular group, as Alexander and Benjamin are still jobbing to what seems like anyone and everyone. However, adding Lee, who rumour has it has been considered for a heel turn to the group, could revitalise it and even give the WWE incentive to push Benjamin and Alexander again, who have actually shown they're a damn good tag team. Number 3, ladder match magic. Last night's number 1 contenders ladder match was a true main event and the type of match that commands the fans' attention and creates the excitement that has them wanting to tune in for more. Now, there was a lot going on with last night's match, including the WWE building off Seth's complaint during his run on SmackDown that Roman Reigns was dodging him. And while that has little to do with Rollins' situation on Raw, it was great to see the WWE at least explain why Seth didn't get his shot against the Tribal Chief, or at least explain Rollins' fantasy version of things. This was an awesome match, which can only lead to fans wondering when Seth vs Biggie will happen. It's certainly a pay-per-view quality match, but the WWE may also want to change things by booking a triple threat match at Survivor Series between Rollins, Biggie, and Roman Reigns. As strange as that may sound, after all, Survivor Series is supposed to feature the WWE Champion taking on the Universal Champion. It could give the WWE a way of having Biggie or Roman lose to each other, saving a one-on-one match for down the road. But that was a good. What about the bad? Is number 1, live for another loss. And Liv Morgan is the epitome of the WWE's broken down women's division undercard. Just when things start to look good for her, the WWE kills her momentum with a series of losses. As bad as that is, the WWE can't seem to find anyone else for her to job to except Carmella. And Liv Morgan has replaced Dana Brooke as the WWE's resident jobber to the stars, which is sad as Morgan has been working hard to improve her skills and distinguish herself as someone who can stand out as more than just a blonde bombshell. Number 2, weirdly watching TV. And why can't wrestlers just watch TV like the rest of the world? The WWE's continued practice of having wrestlers watch the TV at a 180-degree angle is just plain stupid, and while the WWE has its own reason, as they reportedly feel that it presents a better dynamic on camera, it's a reason that we all know comes down to one man's maniacal mind. It may seem like a bit of a petty complaint from your friends over here, but it's another sign of just how messed up McMahon's mindset is in presenting his WWE product. Number 3, what's the story with Austin Theory? And what's going on with Austin Theory, who's been enjoying success since jumping to the Raw roster? He's defeated Jeff Hardy twice, and now he can add Dominic Mysterio to his victories. Are they planning on pushing Theory, or is this just another case of the WWE giving a wrestler a few wins before jobbing him out on the main roster? Now, it's too early to tell if Theory has the skills and charisma to do more than work the mid-card, but if the WWE is only setting him up for putting other wrestlers over, he shouldn't be winning over potential main eventers like Dominic Mysterio. Okay, we kind of realize he's far from a main eventer yet, but he is the son of Rey Mysterio after all. So far, Theory's win seems like a bad thing that could turn downright ugly in the blink of an eye. And the Queen's bad British accent. But the WWE is clearly pushing Zelina Vega following her win as the inaugural Queen's Crown winner. Why is it hurting her push by saddling her with the oh-so-tired trope of the heel adopting a British accent when they win? We couldn't stand it when Booker T became King of the Ring, but it's downright distracting for Zelina and does nothing to help her get over. Is it lazy booking? Probably not, but just bad booking. Now, there was nothing downright ugly about last night's Raw, which was actually a fairly decent episode and one that was much better follow-up to the crown jewel than the 22nd October SmackDown. They actually set up 2 title matches by having wrestlers compete to earn a title shot rather than the typically ambiguous way in which wrestlers randomly get them. The show had some bad moments, but the good outweighed the bad, regardless of whether this was a fortunate incident or just careful planning. While the idea of a season premiere for a wrestling show may seem odd, they made last night's Raw seem kind of special. But what did you guys think of Raw? Let us know in the comments down below. Now let's move on to the news. Now, our first story looks at a god-tier push for Roman Reigns. Now, if you think current Universal Champion Roman Reigns has been getting a big push, wait till you hear this. A rumor has it that WWE plans on having Roman Reigns break Brock Lesnar's record reign as Universal Champion. According to a recent report from Wrestling News, the story is that Reigns is going to break the record for longest reigning Universal Champion in the history of the title. The idea is to push Reigns as the greatest of all time. Reigns began to call himself the greatest of all time on tonight's broadcast. Now that explains why Lesnar has been suspended, but it doesn't explain if the WWE has anyone in mind to actually defeat Reigns. Although the Tribal Chief's popularity continues to grow, there's little suspense when it comes to wrestlers challenging him for the Universal Championship. Next up, WWE vs AEW PPV. Now, despite the WWE's denial that All Elite Wrestling is any kind of competition, this next story is another reminder of how seriously the WWE is taking AEW. The Wrestling Observer Live's Brian Alvarez said that the WWE's recently released pay-per-view schedule is evidence that they plan to counter-program an AEW show. Alvarez noted that WWE's tentative plan for the show on either Saturday 3rd September or Sunday 4th September, a location which still has to be determined, noting, "So they're going to figure out when and where AEW is running All Out, and they're booking a pay-per-view for that weekend." Now, this year's All Out was a smash success for AEW, and apparently the WWE is looking to see whether they can put a dent in the competition's buy rate. One theory is that the WWE may run a show from the United Kingdom against AEW. Both Fightful Select and Dave Meltzer are reporting the WWE's plans to air a show on the UK around that time, but it remains to be seen. Next up, Brock Lesnar drafted. It looks like the WWE is finishing up the 2021 WWE draft by assigning more superstars to different brands, including Brock Lesnar. You'll likely recall Lesnar was made a free agent during the draft, which would allow him to work on both Raw or SmackDown. However, PW Insider is reporting that Lesnar, who is currently suspended from the WWE, is officially a SmackDown star. In addition, Asuka, who is recovering from an injury, is on Raw, as are Elias and the Lucha House Party. Bayley, Eva Marie and Lacey Evans have not been signed to any brands, and Dakota Kai is reportedly still on NXT. Next up, Charlotte Flair pushed to leave WWE. Now, Charlotte Flair's inner circle pushing her to bail on the WWE and head to AEW. By now you've heard the stories about Flair and Becky Lynch having a heated backstage confrontation following SmackDown's awkward women's title exchange. We also commented on the talk of people advising Flair to leave the WWE, something PW Insider reported on along with its coverage of the Flair flare-up. As PW Insider reported, we are told that there was those in her inner circle that were privately pushing the idea of her trying to get out of her WWE deal, but realistically, no one expects that to actually happen as of this writing. Now, Flair reportedly has a long time left on a WWE contract, but as the situation with Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman showed, they seem ready to get rid of anyone who doesn't fit in with their plans, budget or anything else. And finally, are Chad Gable's friends lobbying him to leave the WWE too? Charlotte Flair may not be the only person whose inner posse is recommending she leave the promotion. Meltzer discussed the situation with current Raw wrestler Chad Gable during an episode of the Wrestling Observer Radio. Chad Gable is fantastic. He's so fantastic that they do nothing with him. He was one of those guys where I would go, God, get out of there. But you know, it's been talked about, but I don't think it's gonna happen. It's been talked about and he definitely has friends telling him the same thing. I know he's been one of those things that's under consideration, but I don't think he's going anywhere. Meltzer pointed out that the leader of the Alpha Academy is doing well financially and that AEW can't sign everybody. Do you guys think that he should sign with AEW? Let us know in the comments down below, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.